You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
This is episode 272 of Horsemanship Radio, brought to you by HandsOnGloves, the all-in-one revolutionary bathing, grooming, and shedding gloves. Horsemanship Radio is a part of the family of the Horse Radio Network, and today we have two horse trainers who are making their marks in different disciplines, and they see a need for Monty's concepts in their areas of equestrian sport. This is Debbie Laux, and you're listening to the Horsemanship Radio. Thanks for joining us. Horsemanship Radio airs on the 1st and the 15th of the month, and I have my producer, Jen, with me today. Hi, Jen.
Greetings, Debbie.
Hi, Jen. How are you?
I'm doing great. Are things crazy busy there at Flag is Up Farms?
A little bit. Well, I'm having so much fun. Today is the last day, happens to be the last day of a 2-week introductory course. But the introductory course is actually a couple days more than normal because we've gone to 6 modules. So it's been really fun. We've had an Irish instructor over here, literally came from Donegal to teach this course. And she is amazing. Of course, she's been an instructor for years and years. And her experience is great. So we are sort of piloting this as our first one with 6 modules. Super fun, more horse behavior in it than ever before, more trailer loading, more muscle memory, I guess, and just adding a few more days, but it just expanded all the concepts. So I guess my mind is sort of blown, Jen. It's been fun.
Really cool. So how many students do you have for this one?
Yeah, we started, they're broken into modules because not everybody can stay that whole length of time, but we started off with 14 in module 1, which is the foundational groundwork. And then we've been consistently about 8 or 9 through the 2 weeks.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's fun. Yeah, and that's a lot of horses and a lot of coordinating, a lot of cat herding and, all those things.
Well, this is going to be a fun show because we get to see how the global nature of Equus and the Monty Roberts courses that you offer there at the show or at the farm, how that the global nature of it can apply to so many different backgrounds of students, but also apply to so many different disciplines. So that's going to be really interesting conversations to hear. And we're going to get right to our very first guest of the day. We always have a little chat about Hands on Gloves because they are our title sponsor after all. And you had mentioned something a little earlier about a mare you had there at the farm that could benefit from some new techniques with the Hands on Gloves.
Yes, I loved you. We were talking about Hands on Gloves being so clever. There's so many different things about them that we love. But the one thing this poor mare is always suffering from are the little drips off the belly when we wash her. And she's such a sweetheart. She really puts up with a lot. But for her, you can just tell it's like super ticklish, like there was flies all over her belly. And it's not, it's just a little water drops, But even after you scrape her off, you know how the water creeps down under there and it drips a few more times. It drives her bananas. And you told me about a video that showed a guy who had thrown a towel over his dog in this case. But, before you put it back in the car, you get out a towel. But for those who, want to really be able to grip the towel and really get a good job done of drying the dog or the horse in this case. And I could really reach under her belly by putting on my hands-on gloves, grabbing the towel, and, I don't have to hold it very hard if I can scrub under her tummy with that towel and get those last little bits of moisture out of there so it doesn't bother her.
We've all taken the towel and we dry some part of the horse with the towel. Mm-hmm. Well, the towel dries the top of the hair. Right. It does, especially as their hair gets a little heavier in the wintertime.
Yeah, here we are.
It doesn't get down. And it's like trying to wash your hand without using your hair, without using your fingertips. It doesn't work.
Exactly, Jen. That's a perfect analogy because I can't get in there, especially under the belly. It's kind of loose skin and yeah,
that's
perfect.
Brilliant. So washing your horse, give him a quick scrape, and you've already got your hands-on glove on anyway because you were using that to scrub your horse.
Yep.
We'll just grab the towel in your hand, give the tummy a rub, give the legs, and what a great way to also get the legs and fetlocks and coronets really, really dry, because that's going to ward off scratches.
Yes, that's another thing that we can get here in the tall grasses. And she is a pasture horse, but she's absolutely lovely. And she loves her spa days and loves her grooming, but she hates her little drip drops.
There we go.
Her tummy.
Yet another. We're going to have to develop a pamphlet, 101 useful ways that you can use your.
I'm telling you, every time you get horse girls together and you talk about hands-on gloves, we come up with a new one almost every time.
Every time. And you can find out more at handsongloves.com, or you can find them at your local retailer.
Lori McIntosh has been riding horses since she was 8. She competed for the intercollegiate team at the University of Texas at Austin and soon bought her first horse, Sorab, an experienced chestnut thoroughbred using a brand new credit card she magically got as a student. She and her husband, Nigel, enjoy horse camping vacations, and Lori rides endurance and lives in Northern California, and she's surrounded by trails. We're going to talk about those today. She rides her horses and has a business called Lori McIntosh Properties, helping people live in the country with their horses. Well, welcome. Lori McIntosh, I know you first as a student of the horse, which is really exciting. You've taken the introductory course of horsemanship here at our farm in Solvang, California. What led you to the farm first? Maybe I should ask that question first.
Well, I've known of Monty for quite a while. And what really bonded me with wanting to work with him was the fact that I have a baby horse, a 4-year-old, and I wanted to train him myself. And, even though I've been riding my whole life since I was 8 years old, a very long time in all disciplines and many breeds, at least not thousands like Monty, but like a couple hundred I've ridden, but I really don't have a lot of strong skills and groundwork. And that's a weakness that I had. So I thought I need to go right back to the beginning of module 1 and 2. And I'm mainly here for long lining. Wanted to learn that, but I didn't think it would be right to just go straight into that without knowing all of Monty's concepts.
That's smart. That is smart. A lot of people do kind of worry about the long lining so much, and they don't have some of the fundamentals. So good for you. So you took module 1 and 2.
Yes, last December.
Is 3. Last December?
Mm-hmm.
Was it just December?
Just like 3 weeks ago. I was.
It feels like a couple of months ago, guys. But that's great. And now you come back for module 3, and we now have a new format. And we have 6, but it's the same, but expansion a little bit on it because we want that muscle memory for you. So tell me about the long lining before we jump into your story.
Oh, well, I have a lot to learn. You have a great selection of horses here. There's some that are fast, slow, some that are very responsive. Some you really have to get their respect before they'll respond to you. Mm-hmm. And I love that because my horses will immediately join up with me because I know them so well. I went home and practiced. I'm like, this is too easy. So it was a great opportunity to learn from different horses. But the long reining, I love how I grew up with the single line lunging concepts. Yeah. And I completely understand what Monty's talking about. And seeing the videos where the horse arcs with his spine going in an incorrect manner, it's kind of heartbreaking. That is still very popular and very common. And it's going to be a tough tradition to break. But since I've been here as a student, maybe I could help the people in my area to break those concepts and change to long lining. I do know quite a few trainers that do it. But why not do it myself? And really learn from the instructors that Monty has taught. Yeah. And they're very precise in what they've learned and super motivated to help us.
Yeah, I think at the top level, growing up, a lot of the top trainers did reining if they either had guys that could do it underneath them, head trainers, or they could do it. There's very little single line lunging that I saw growing up, which is really interesting because then once I started showing more in the teenage years, everybody warmed up their horse on a single line. Mm-hmm. And I did either free lunging or I had my horse warmed up before I got there. But I didn't understand really why. And now you see the kids on the phones while the horse is going in circles around them too. So I hope we can reverse that trend because I think the top people know this, but I think that's education, Lori.
Yes.
So sharing that knowledge that it's really damaging on the horse's anatomy, I think is probably our best effort forward rather than trying to change their minds. It's about educating them to not damage their horses. So anyway, I'm glad you're here for the long lining, and I'm glad this is your last day today.
It
on
is.
The long lining. Yeah.
I might have to come back for more courses and more events that you have.
Good. It's wonderful to have you. But we got to talking about trails. You know that we have the Mark Bolander. We have 22 obstacles out in the
try that.
Yeah, we have to get you out there on a horse. So we do once a month, we do a play day, a mountain trail play day, we call it. It's really fun. But we started talking about engaging the horse's brains and everything too. And you have so much background in horsemanship and riding that I wanted to pick your brain a little bit and encourage people to get out of the arena and tell us why.
Well, okay, so first I have to set up the fact that I was an arena girl. I did rodeos, and then I went to University of Texas and became a hunter jumper and competed against a lot of other colleges near Texas. And then I got into eventing, which expanded me a little bit with cross country and not show jumping, that's in the arena. And over time, I ended up getting married, and my husband would watch me ride in the arena, and he thought it was boring. And I kept thinking I wanted him to ride with me. And I was trying to figure out, how can I be a competitor and get a man that had never been around horses? He's from England. But I knew that he loved them. He really enjoyed all their vacations. He should have got a hint. Every time I went on vacation, I'm like, let's go on a trail ride. Like, we were in Venezuela, and we rode on the beach. And we were supposed to be there windsurfing, but I always found a way to go horseback riding. And his name's Nigel. And I thought, somehow over the next couple of months, I think I just had that manifestation of being out on the trail, competing, and being with my husband as like a family. We're going to be riding. And I discovered endurance. So I also was not a fan of Arabians. I did not think they were worth my time. They had a bad reputation in the 70s and 80s in the United States. And because they're super sensitive, kind of difficult to train. They don't like a lot of repetition. And so I missed out on that breed. I loved quarter horses, and then again, warm bloods later for jumping. But it was like a full circle, whole new world where I could ride on the trail in a competition with other people, but I never really raced. I never wanted to win. I just wanted to be out in nature. Like, you go out in the dark when you start a race, and the sun rises while you're out on the trail. And of course, this is all in California and Nevada, so we're in a beautiful state to see all this scenery. And I'm on this horse for 12 hours.
Right.
And I didn't have one when I started. I rode other people's horses and started exercising their Arabians. And then you finish in the dark sometimes.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I got into trail riding. But I'm competing, but not. It was like I got the ribbon, or sometimes you didn't really get buckles. You didn't get a lot of prizes in endurance. Really odd gifts, actually.
No, really?
Like a bungee cord or something. You did not, try to, I just didn't
It wasn't
care.
for that.
No, it was just to be outside and nature. And at
You
some
saw
point,
a lot of Arabians out there then. So what were you
Predominantly.
thinking? Yeah, predominantly in the endurance, right? So what were you thinking at this point about Arabians?
So when I did get married, we went to Wyoming, Du Bois, to a dude ranch for our honeymoon. And there are quarter horses and Arabians. The husband liked the quarter horses. The wife, this is Mel and Baird Fox. They own Equitors. Nice. Their son runs it now.
Yes.
And she was into Arabians, and she's from Africa. So I think there are quite a few Arabians in that country and continent, excuse me.
Right.
And I have not been there yet, but I will get there. So she said, Lori, I want you to ride this Arabian, because I was kind of negative about it. And she knew that she would change my mind. And I was on this little tiny gray. He was like 14 3 hands, and he was so quick and nimble. I literally rode him with my pinkies, so light. And she'd say, Lori, go over there and break up those bulls. And I'm like, what? She's like, your horse can do it. And it was mind-blowing how this horse was just so versatile. And I still love quarter horses, but I was sold at that point.
Yeah.
So that's just a little backtrack to how I got into endurance later. Yeah. And also it helped my husband, because he didn't really know how to ride, and he'd ask me to train him and teach him. And I'm like, I just know how to ride. I'm not a trainer. just hold your hands this way and do this. I go, your legs, your toes are too far out. Turn them in. And he just like, we'd start fighting. And,
oh, no.
and I'm like, I can't do this. But when he was on that trail ride, Mel would say, Nigel, go get those horses over there. And he's like, how do I turn my horse?
Right.
And I think because he wasn't told what to do and he had to figure it out on his own, he did it.
Wow.
And of course, this is a trained quarter horse that does what it does all day. So he had a lot of help.
Yeah.
And that's when he got the bug to ride. Cool. And unfortunately, quarter horses don't excel in endurance because they have thicker skin versus Arabian has thin skin, which means they can dissipate heat and go the distance. They're bred for endurance. And quarter horses have smaller nostrils, so they can't take as much oxygen in as an Arabian that has big nostrils. Mm-hmm. And you can succeed on other breeds, but it's just a little bit more challenging.
Sure.
Why not make it easy for yourself
right.
if you're a bit of a beginner at a new sport like that?
Good.
And then I tell you what, when I started doing endurance and seeing all these trails, it just expanded into like more people need to experience what we're experiencing. Because I can go so much further out in a day on a horse than a hiker or even a mountain biker can. And really be in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of San Jose, which is the third largest city in California. I can go to the top of Grant Ranch, which is where Mount Hamilton is, and no one is around except some wild hogs.
Okay.
Which are a little scary. But no one gets to do that. And it's like, we shouldn't be the only ones experiencing this.
Yeah.
Other people that do, I've already done all these disciplines. Why not a dressage rider or a cutting horse go out and ride these trails too?
So you're encouraging people to get out on the trail, which is wonderful. You've got the experience. You're not a trainer per se. What's keeping the trails open? Because sometimes I do feel like it's the squeaky wheel that is keeping some of these trails open for horses. Because I've heard the argument that horses are harder on the trail or they intimidate dogs or whatever. I guess I've heard everything.
Well, they do poop.
Okay.
Grass, but it's just grass. It breaks down. It's not. It's going to sit on the trail for days on end.
Right.
Versus a dog, so it's a little bit different.
Good point.
So they're herbivores, and I think one thing I love to do when I ride in my area is I'm about 45 minutes from Sacramento, which is a big city, and when you see kids from the city on the trail, they go to like a place called Hidden Falls to see a waterfall, and they see me on my horse, their eyes just light up.
Good.
And they've never seen a horse before, and that is just precious. And I love to stop. I'll get off the horse so I don't seem intimidating, high up, I'm 10 feet tall. And I tell them how to do the horsey handshake and keep your fingers together and meet the horse. And the parents get so excited. And my goal is to the parents let their kids ride horses, and maybe they can carry on the tradition of being out on the trail. And then I guess another problem that we can have is butting heads a little bit with mountain bikers and hikers.
Yeah,
I've not had any issues really with hikers because they have no problem stopping, pulling aside, and letting us go by. And the reason for that is your average horse is about 1,000 pounds, and they're unpredictable prey animals. Like a squirrel could run in front of you and they could spook. And I could have the most well-trained horse around something coming fast at me, but maybe he has an off day, or maybe he has a little bit of an injury I haven't picked up yet, or he's old or young. You have no idea what is going to happen with your horse. And
with somebody on the trail.
With someone on the trail, yes, coming towards you. So that's why people have to give horses the right of way, and it's just really for all our safety.
So there are some protocols out on the trail, then it sounds like, yeah? What are some of those that you follow?
Yeah, I've seen them in some parks, but not all, where they have the yield sign where the mountain biker yields pretty much to everyone because they are faster and they're on a bicycle. And it's harder to stop, I guess, but they yield to the hiker and the hiker yields to the horse. But everybody ultimately yields to the horse. And all three are huge. For the trail, we need mountain bikers, we need hikers, and we need equestrians, and that's considered multi-use trail, so we can keep them open. Because especially what's happened lately in LA, we've lost a lot of houses, and we are growing as a state. Yes, there's people leaving and moving to other places, Texas and Tennessee, and they need their trails too. But I just feel like California, there's a lot of pressure to give up space. and give up land for homes. And it will be difficult now.
Then you can't plan. Once it's done, you can't go back. We do have these planned unit areas like, well, it doesn't matter, but there are areas where you can ride horses through. It's like a little parkway kind of trails.
Like
through.
an agritourism place.
Yeah, I rode in one in Coto de Caza, Rancho Santa Margarita area. And it's a nice mix. And people do enjoy being able to have their residents and their horses nearby. So I like to advocate for creating planned development. It's going to develop. Somebody's going to build a house on things eventually.
Well, it also would help the forest too.
Wouldn't it?
With potential wildfires, if we could do a bit more clearing.
Exactly. And in an intelligent way. Yeah.
Yes.
Not just, and I understand everybody wants to preserve everything, but what happens then is just all of a sudden it's all covered up. So you wrote a book.
Yes.
Okay. And it's a cute name. Tell me the name.
Yeah, so it was originally a children's book, and it evolved into being for adults. But I had already had everything fixed up for it with the book cover. So it's The Adventures of Hot Wheels, the horse. And Hot Wheels is an Arabian who was originally for my husband, and we all know that story of green on green. And my husband insisted he wanted a
I think that finishes ends up black and blue.
Yeah. He fell off a lot. Hot Wheels was a show horse. Never been out on the trail. He did country English pleasure and was in a double bridle, had high-stepping shoes on, and his head was cranked down. And then when we got him, we just took all that off. And he was like, I'm free. And he loved to run, and I love to go fast.
Okay.
But as long as I don't miss everything. But Nigel, he's a great rider, but it's hard as a beginner to just have that confidence to let the horse go.
Sure.
And, he doesn't know what a half halt is, which I had to do 1,000 of those. And I love horses so much that I had that patience for them.
Yeah.
And he needed a lot of patience. And sadly, we thought he was more trained than he was.
Oh.
He wasn't. He was only 5.
Oh, gosh.
He was our second horse. So we had an older horse, Finn, that we got at age 10. And I keep getting them younger and younger. Mm-hmm. And that's one reason why I'm here, is because I need to learn how to do it myself. Why should I pay another trainer or even get an older horse that doesn't have that connection with me like they do when they're babies?
Yeah, that's true.
It is amazing to have that. Mm-hmm. And so
you get them longer too, by the way.
Yes, exactly. I do. So Finn I said, Nigel, this is your new horse. I'm going to take Hot Wheels.
That makes sense.
But the book is about really riding a lot of trails and all the adventures we had. We had quite a few tribulations, some accidents, things that happened, and mistakes that I made. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, that horse taught me a lot of lessons. I would say I was a leader beforehand, but just the fact that I grew up with horses, they all helped me become a leader. Mm-hmm. But he was such I wouldn't say challenging horse, but he's a majestic beast. Mm-hmm. He just had so many needs, being a little neurotic from having all that paraphernalia on him.
Yeah.
And me just being used to going out and riding a horse. Mm-hmm. And now here's my horse that needs help. Yeah. I got to learn how to do this correctly without getting injured. And people did say that we were stupid to keep him. We needed to sell him. But when you fall in love, it's really hard. And I knew that he had it in him to be a safe horse.
And you knew that through experience, really.
Yes.
I mean, yeah. We're not talking about just
he wasn't completely off the rocker.
Yeah.
No. He was such, and so smooth. You could sit that trot for hours. You can't give that up.
Right. You finally got that.
Right.
Yeah. No, yeah. I love that you gave him a chance too, and that you had the experience to do it. What do you recommend to somebody who is getting their first horse and they do want to do some trail riding and they want a really solid, you would give to your husband, Nigel?
Right. It would be great to have a horse that knows how to cross water with confidence, not forced to be going across water. And that's like my 1-year-old, he would put his toe in the water and then panic. And we're like, okay, that's it for today. We'll try again tomorrow. An older horse, like Hot Wheels now is 22. Mm-hmm. He ponies my baby horse, and he learns from Hot Wheels what to do. So he just crosses a bridge because his big daddy crossed it.
Right. That's a good lesson.
Yeah, that's huge. If you have someone that has an older horse for a young one, but a beginner rider, crossing bridges, going around rocks, going over logs, a more experienced trail horse is ideal. I would say 8 to 10.
Okay.
10 is like the perfect age of a horse that's got their mind together and they can help a beginner, and you won't have the green on green, black makes black and blue situation. That's what our intention was when we had Finn. He was 10, and then I have to tell you this funny story. He was at a barn. This is before we had a ranch with our horses living with us, and every day I would go see him after work. I was a pharmaceutical sales rep. And at some point, and then I would ride with the ladies on the weekends. Nigel's like, "Where are you?" And he was like, kind of jealous. And I said, "Oh, I got a new boyfriend." And he's like, "Well, I need a horse too." And that's how we got Hot Wheels. Fabulous. And he was pretty smart about it. Nigel, he's like, "We can't have 2 10-year-olds. We want them to age at different levels, different times versus together, because then we'd be stuck with 2 retired horses." So that's why we ended up getting a 5-year-old.
Younger.
And he thought, that he could handle it, but it didn't work out that way.
Flip-flopped. That's okay.
It flip-flopped, exactly. and oh my, I had such a blast riding on all these trails everywhere with him. And meeting I got a lot of new friends. And there's nothing better than riding your horse when the sun rises.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. Well, for people who don't like to get up early, maybe it doesn't sound wonderful, but
sunset.
But or sunset. There is nothing more beautiful though than being out in nature, and you can cover so much territory on a horse. So
yes, even see wildlife everywhere.
Oh, and wildlife, the beauty of
foxes, bobcats,
exactly.
Lots
Who
of deer.
gets to say that before work in the morning, right?
No, right?
Amazing, yeah. Well, you have a great story. I hope people will. How do they find your book?
It's on Amazon, and it's $20 on paperback or $10 for Kindle. If you don't want to carry a book around, it's not that big. It's only like 300 pages. And I have the cover of me and Hot Wheels going over Cougar Rock. And the end of the book is all about me getting to the Tevis Cup, which is a 100-mile race. It's been around since 1955, and it starts in Truckee up in Lake Tahoe and finishes in Auburn, and you ride through the Sierras.
Beautiful.
And it's pretty much a downhill race. And again, I say race, but I came in 40th out of 200 people. I was in the top 20 the first 50 miles. And I panicked a bit because all I cared about was finishing and getting the buckle. So I just let him rest and relax for a while and let all the top riders go. And then I finished in the middle of the pack.
Pretty decent. That's pretty decent for a girl who didn't look at having an endurance career when you first went into horses.
That was my third 100 too. I needed to do a couple hundreds before the Tevis, since that's one of the top 10 endurance rides or events that you could do in the world.
Yeah, is that right? Well, Tevis is pretty famous. Even if you've never seen what it is, people know about it. They hear about it, right?
I hope so.
And I mean, I get a sweaty forehead thinking about it, but it's amazing. It's amazing, and we've been fortunate to know enough people that have had the same story like you a little bit about getting to the Tevis, and it's a dedication. I know it's a care and love for your horse. Absolutely. So I applaud you for all of that to even get to an endurance race and then care for your horse first, more than whatever it is at the end.
It's definitely evolved from the 50s.
Yeah, exactly. Where people were a little crazier, but no, but it's wonderful. And it's wonderful to have you here on the farm, and I hope to have you back. I hope you actually continue your education and we get to see more of you, Lori.
Hi, I'm Monty Roberts, and I'm coming to you now to talk about the Monty Roberts Online University. You know, there ought to be 6 months in everybody's life where they just live with their animals. I've been staying home, but 3 months now, I've been home with this virus thing, and the things I'm learning. We're bringing you a new series. What horses see, how horses see, and about horses seeing things. The Online University is bringing you the last 3 years of my learning process, which I promise you is the learningest years I ever spent. The Monty Roberts Online University. You won't miss a minute of it if you get started on it. I love bringing it to you, and it's my shot to take my concepts to the next generation.
Syra Davenport was first introduced to horses at 9 years old through riding lessons, getting her first horse then when she was 12. Horses have inspired her to create her own equine wellness business, Syra Alexi Equine Wellness, and Syra offers PEMF treatments through sports innovations focused on the well-being of horses. Welcome, Syra Davenport. I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, and we wanted to hear a little bit about your background. That's why, you're here for only one more day, so I'm rushing you into this to speak aside. You're on your lunch hour, and I'm so pleased that I could get a little bit of time with you.
I'm so pleased that you invited me on.
Oh, no. I think what everybody wants to hear from other horsey girls is their journey. And so I always like to ask, what's your background? What's your horsey background and how'd you get into horses and things like that? And then we'll go into why you're here. Okay?
Perfect.
So give me your horsey background.
Well, so I have been homeschooled since 5th grade. Last time I set foot in a public school was 4th grade, of course.
Right.
And I'm originally from LA. So I moved up to Paso Robles, California when I was 9 years old, and my mother had brought up the option of us being homeschooled. And I loved the idea of it. I was ready to do something different. New town, almost rebranding yourself in a way.
Yeah, that's a good point, yeah.
And through our homeschool program, we get a certain amount of funding from the state. So we were able to go and take, extracurricular classes and whatnot. And horseback riding lessons was one of those.
Really?
Yeah, so it was so awesome.
That's cool.
So we found a trainer that was super local. Her and I are still friends to this day, love her. And like I said, I was 9, took my first riding lesson, and I joke with my mom. I told her that was the best, worst mistake you ever could have made.
Best, worst mistake. Expensive, maybe worse. But,
yes.
That's what she's thinking.
But ever since then, I've just been hooked. I fell in love, and I wanted to be with horses every day after that.
So she wasn't a horse girl?
No, my mom, she had horses growing up. My great-grandfather was a great roper and everything. He really liked that whole aspect of it. And like I said, my mom had horses when she was younger growing up, but she kind of grew out of it a little bit. Just, life took the reins by her.
Yeah.
And she went off to do other things, but now everyone's kind of slowly getting back into it. Just the more that I build myself up. Yeah. So it's been super awesome to see everyone get back involved with it.
And you're in a place where you can. You're in Paso Robles, which is Central California.
It is,
and a pretty horsey area.
Mm-hmm. So I got my first horse when I was 12. He was my 12th birthday present.
Nice.
Yeah, awesome. He's actually an off-the-track thoroughbred, fun fact.
Good for you.
I've been a thoroughbred girl since day one.
Find him?
Actually, Barrel Horse World.
Yeah?
Yeah, so he was a little barrel horse.
Him to you? Mm-hmm. Okay.
He has a really impressive pedigree, actually, for a thoroughbred. He was nominated for the Breeders' Cup solely off of his bloodlines. Yeah, funny that he was never officially started on the track. So when I got him, he was patterned 30 days. And the whole aspect, I know they say green on green equals black and blue, but he was...
Yes, we do.
He's been such a good boy, and I've learned, honestly, so much from him. And we can get into it a little more later, but I owe me starting my own equine business to him. But...
And your age now?
I'm 17.
Yeah,
fresh out of high school, I was able to graduate a semester early. But yeah, so for majority of the time that I had horses, I was boarding. It got to just be too much. I was boarding all of my horses in 3 different places.
Oh.
Yeah, too much, very expensive. Yeah. And so we made the choice to move about an hour down south where I'm at now, Rio Grande, California. We were able to buy 5 acres. Nice. So, it really just has been a dream come true these last year to just start pulling everything together. It's just been so beautiful. And I have my own arena now. We're set to get my own barn and everything. And everything's really just picking up. And I'm so, so grateful. I'm so blessed. You
have the American dream in the West here. To have your horses at home with you. It's not easy. And at 17, there is a few jealous people listening. But you've worked hard, since 9, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just every day. I feel like the best thing that we as horsewomen, horsemen, equestrians all together can do is just every day take steps to be better for our horses and for ourselves, and just to continue learning and learning and learning. And just, even as in the Monty Roberts course, is to just continue learning to be the best for ourselves and our horses, because we really do truly owe it to them.
Huh. That's beautiful. And I wish more people, did do a deep dive in their, if they can, into their education. So 8 years, basically, you've been at it. Yes, when people say, well, I'm young, but 8 years, how many people have been at a career education for 8 years in horse industry? Exactly. That's good. That's good track record, but you've got a whole world ahead of you too.
I do, and I'm so excited to continue exploring it. And like you had said, a lot of the things that do end up happening, like you said, with the age of, oh, well, you're so young. Well, you're so young. Well, are you sure you're going to stick with it? It's like, you know, it has been 8 years. Yes, I'm young, but I've never let my age stop me in doing anything. I mean, even my parents will tell you that I've just always had such a strong head on me of just, this is what I want to do. When I get my mindset on something, I want to do it. And that's honestly what happened with the horses. And like I had said, that's how I ended up starting my own business now and just slowly picking it up off the ground. And I started it in my last semester of high school. So now that I'm graduated, I'm getting ready to start college in the fall. This is really what I'm wanting to set my eyes on now and fully dedicate myself to, and building a clientele and getting a website going and just picking myself up, because right now it's really just consisting of PEMF therapy. And
Let's tell people what PEMF is.
So PEMF is pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. The brand that I'm currently using is Sports Innovations. I have their Pro Series 3-in-1 blanket. And this company has honestly been so amazing. I have so many good things to say about it all. I mean, they make things for people, dogs, horses. I offer cold laser therapy treatments also, which can be done on people. My grandma has been using it for the arthritis in her hands. She had a bone spur in her knee. I've used it on myself. I use it on tendon injuries, overall injuries. Same as with the blanket. I mean, the biggest difference that I've known, especially having 3 performance horses myself, is the help of superficial pain and day-to-day soreness is really the biggest thing that it's come with. And I do weekly treatments on them, how I said, just day-to-day soreness. But the biggest area that I use it is during competition to help them relax after runs, to help get them warmed up before runs, and just really make sure that they're feeling their best. Because we all know, I mean, even for us going on long trips and hauls like that, it's stressful for ourselves. And I could only imagine what the horses feel like. And how I said before, we really do just owe it to them, especially going out and asking them to perform at the rate that they are. It's a lot on them, and it's very unnatural. Especially in the rodeo world, all those tight turns and the fastness, it's just...
So we don't have any instructors that have gone into the rodeo world. I mean, I love that you've created a business for yourself, but is rodeo part of that business?
Yes. So Sports Innovation, they are known as the official equipment of the WPRA, the WPRA Women's Professional Rodeo Association. I right now am a junior member. When I turn 18, I'd love to go for my pro card and try to fill it. And same thing with the Monty Roberts courses. I really do just want to continue to better the rodeo industry, because we're starting to see a lot of innovations in other disciplines and areas. And I don't want to say that rodeo is behind, but in a way, we are. I mean, in a way, there's just so many different areas that could be benefited and, innovated. And people see it, but personally, I feel like not enough really do. And that's just really kind of my end goal, is just, being an advocate for the horse, being an advocate for the people, and just really helping everyone perform their best, because it's fun. It's what we love to do. And we're all here to have fun. We all have a common denominator, and that's horses and us loving what we do, because if we didn't, we wouldn't do everything that we do, And
it's a lot of work too,
Absolutely.
to pull associations together. Yeah. Everyone does in their own discipline have their own little silos. And they can be quiet about it. They can even be secretive about it. And Dad found this back in the 90s, that people didn't really want to share their, training methodologies, no matter the discipline, frankly.
Absolutely.
And what he found is that hurts the horses, because if you find a better way, it's better if everybody joins along. And it can be a little frustrating, but I don't actually think it's a nefarious thing. I don't think they're bad people. I think they're just trying to protect their way of living and making a living. So I get that. What makes you different about that? Why do you think collaborating is going to improve things?
I think that collaborating is going to improve things just because I personally believe that everyone has their time to shine. Everyone's going to have their chance to win. everyone's going to have, their chance to stand up there and hold a buckle or hold a frame or hold, a championship, whatever you want to call it. Everyone's going to have their chance. And just because your chance isn't right now doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. And I feel like a lot of people fail to see that. And how you were talking about, a lot of people are very reserved with their secrets because everyone wants to be at the top all the time. And no shame in that whatsoever. I mean, no shame in the game. You can go up there and you can be at the top consistently. I mean, look at Haley Kinsel winning, what she did back to back, even Monty himself. But like I said, everyone's going to have their chance, and people fail to see that because as much as everyone wants to go and, they want to go and sweep everything and win everything, it's not possible. I mean, there's going to be chances where someone else is going to beat you. I mean, it's like that saying, someone somewhere has an upper hand or has an advantage. And like I said, nobody just really understands that. Everyone's like, oh, well, if I hold on to this, it's going to set me further. That's not exactly the case, though, because just because you share something that works for you or is important to you doesn't mean that everyone's going to take it and poach it. I mean, yes, you'll have those people, but those honest people that you are going to want in your corner and you want to support you, you have to do the same for them. So, I mean, that's just really something that I've prided myself in, is just being there as a support system for other people and my own peers. And, I've had days where I've had the best friends of my entire, what I call my so-called career right now. And my friends have gone, or they'll win a buckle. But I'm not kicking myself down. I'm not going to put them down. I love them. Like I said, I'm a support system for them. I'm going to be there standing on the sidelines, clapping and cheering for them. Every run, I'm cheering them on, because it takes the same amount of energy, if not less, to be kind than it is mean.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Good point. So it's just how you want to live with yourself. A little bit about that. That's wonderful, and it's a great attitude. Why did you come here? What is it about Monty's concepts that you were trying to glean from this?
So in my 8 years being around horses, most of what I've known is, I guess you could call so-called more conventional ways. And with that being all that I've known, and even now competing just these last couple of years, because I've really been actually competing these last kind of going on 3 years, and it's just really felt like something's missing. Like, if in a way it's felt like I've been missing that connection with my own horses. And when I heard about Monty's concepts and I, got to watch videos of him and whatnot, it just light bulb went off. I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I need. Like, I feel like this could be the missing piece that I've just been overlooking for so many years, of just, this can help make me better. Because like I had said before, that's all I want to be, is just better, better, better. The only person that I'm actually truly in competition with is myself. Yeah. And it's just, that's honestly the best thing that you can do, is just compete with yourself to be better and better and better every day.
Fantastic. So have you used any of the concept with the horses now? I know you're just going through the introductory course and everything too, but you've been watching videos and you've played around with this?
I have. So I had my two main guys out in the pasture. They were, hanging out, getting some sunshine, some green grass. And I went up, because our pasture, it's a little bit of a hill, so they were kind of down on the bottom, hanging out by a tree. And I came up and I had their halters, and I called to them, and they both turned up and looked at me, and I did a little bit of his arcing in the join up of what you would kind of do to invite them in, and then continuing to go with the follow up. And I did it. I made myself very passive, turned my shoulder in, invited them in, and oh my God, it was the cutest thing ever. Yeah. And they just came running up the hill to come up and meet me. I was like, oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I love my ponies. They're so amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And who doesn't want that connection too? You've now gone through, let's say, several modules at this point through the introductory course. So you learned foundational groundwork. You've learned join up, which is the connection with the horses. You've used now long lining with your horses, which is on 2 lines, or with the horses here. And you also are now doing the prep for the exams. Does this mean you want to go through the whole certification process?
When I had first came to Monty's courses, I wasn't 100% set on being a certified instructor. I mean, it was definitely a thought that had crossed my mind, but I really was just coming, like I had said, to kind of help bridge that gap with my own horses and my own competition. Yeah. And just the longer that I've gone through the modules and talking with the amazing instructors that you guys have, same thing, light bulb went off. I was like, oh my gosh, I can help take this along with my career, because I pride myself in many things, as we found.
Good for you.
But I really do love being a jack of all trades. I mean, especially in the horse industry, there's so many different ways that you can go, and I just love to do a little bit of everything. And I now am set on being a certified instructor. I would love to go through the advanced course and whatnot and work with the Mustangs. And then take my certification and go and hopefully start up my own lesson program and just help raise the next generation of horsewomen of just with a new, more effective way, I guess you could say, of working with horses and truly understanding them and the psychology behind them. Because as Monty says, we think like humans and we're working with prey animals, and us as predators don't fully understand that. And that was honestly the biggest shock that came to me in this course of just, oh my goodness, like it makes so much sense when you actually break it down and understand it. It's like, why did I not think of this before, Yeah. So I'm really so excited for what these opportunities have brought up for me.
That's great. I'm so glad that at your age that you grasp all that and the language of the horse too. I'd like to ask you about that too, because that's one thing, not only understanding their nature, and I'm glad that you're getting all that background in your head too. Some people kind of skip over those parts and just get into the training part, but the language is probably the most crucial part. Can you explain what you have taken away?
Well, I agree with you there, Debbie. The language honestly really is the most important part. And learning that the Mustangs out in the wild, it makes so much sense, as I said before, that they are so quiet, and us with domesticated horses, a little louder and just all the time. But just the quiet language of Equus, I find so, so beautiful, because it really just truly masks how our actions speak so much louder than our words. And of course, we can condition them to listen to our words, but the baseline is those actions and the way that we communicate them with our body language, and really just living in the present moment. And I feel like you said, so many people skip over that, and it just has really brought me back down to reality of, breathing, being in the present moment, and enjoying what I'm doing and remembering why I'm doing it.
That's so good. That's what horses do for us. They ground us so much. We got to play yesterday a little bit in the mountain trail.
Yes.
And we've got that in our infield out here in the middle of the racetrack, which is a little distracting. Sometimes we have cart horses on the outside of the track and things like that. But what do you think of the mountain trail?
I loved it, honestly. I thought it was so much fun, and I'm always looking for new things to go and do with my horses and just get them out of the arena, go do different things. I mean, they love going on beach rides and exploring. We'll find our own little trails, and I would love to come in and do a haul-in and just get them, a little more exposed to all these different things and let them be horses and have some fun.
That's it. I love it when people say let them be horses too, because that means that you're not one of those people who say like we should pull the shoes and turn them loose on the mountaintops, right?
No.
Yeah, but you're finding a way to keep horses in your life, which is probably our biggest mission statement.
Yes.
At least on this podcast, we like to promote how people can keep horses in their lives and why they keep horses in there, from therapy all the way to the highest level of performance too. So we hope to see you down the road performing at your highest.
Yes,
and we will be your cheering section whenever we can.
I appreciate
the rodeo. And I can't wait for you to be a certified instructor, but I can't wait for you to actually demonstrate that muscle memory that is just so beautiful when you really nail the language, and I think you will.
Oh, thank you so much, Debbie. That really does mean the world to me, and I'm so excited to continue taking these next steps and continue to carry Monty's concepts with me through all this and just really, truly promote this, because like I had said, I want to be the best that I can be, and I think everyone else should be too. And that's really just honestly the message that I try to share with everyone in the horse industry, is just be the best that you can be for, like I said before, yourself and your horses.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for joining us on Horsemanship Radio.
Thank you for having me, Debbie. It's been a pleasure.
Whisper the language of the herd. Listen, you don't have to say a word.
It's time for Jamie Jennings to fetch an email from Monty Roberts' inbox and share a morsel of Monty's wisdom in a little segment we like to call Ask Monty.
Leave this world a better place than mine. The magic in the language of the herd.
Dear Monty, we're starting a 2-year-old filly, and putting a bridle on her and taking it off is virtually impossible. Can you tell us how we can overcome her dislike of the bridle going over her ears? Monty's answer: I would estimate that 90% of head shy horses are man-made as a result of people striking the horse's head with ropes or whips, or twitching an ear, a procedure whereby a rope is twisted around the ear to produce pain, forcing the horse to comply with the person's demand. The memory of this can easily cause the horse to be reticent about allowing touch in that area. It is also important, however, to acknowledge those 10% horses that are head shy without the intervention of a human. In these cases, physical discomfort of some type horsemanship is the cause, and it's imperative to have your horse checked for lice, ticks, or other parasites, as well as dental problems, before you start to retrain the behavior. Trust is the key to enabling your filly to relax while you handle her ears. Trust is the key to everything I do around horses. The first step is always using join up to build and repair trust using the horse's language, equus. Then you should start handling her head using advance and retreat. If at all possible, use the dually training halter so you can train your filly to yield to pressure on her head instead of her flinging her head up to the pressure. It is important that when the filly momentarily accepts the feeling of your hands around sensitive areas on her head, you walk away instantly, thus releasing the pressure on her. Once you and your filly are comfortable and relaxed with this process, you can move into introducing a hairdryer to her. Spray her with water so she's wet over her head and neck, and have a handler holder so you can operate the dryer. If cords and power are not available, you could use a battery-powered toothbrush. Holding the hairdryer away from your filly, gradually move the flow of air over her hindquarters and up to the shoulder, beginning to condition her to the flow of air and the sound of the motor. Start to move the flow of air over her head and ears using advance and retreat methods until she begins to accept the stimulus. Once she is comfortable with the air blowing directly on her ears, you can start to use your hand on and around her ears and introduce a brush, clippers, etc. Please find and read a copy of my textbook if possible, as this book outlines the process in far greater detail with diagrams and photos to assist your learning. You can also attend training programs to help your filly relearn the appropriate behavior.
For more of these insights into good horsemanship, go to MontyRoberts.com and click on the words Ask Monty at the bottom of the page.
Let's click open the calendar and find out what's coming up at the Monty Roberts International Learning Center.
Monty is looking forward to meeting some new friends, two-legged and four-legged. Let's just do February and March right now because it's going to be busy. We have February 10 through 14, Gentling Wild Horses courses. That's 5 days in Solvang, California. And then on the 16th, we have the Mountain Trail Play Day. And that is on our Mark Bolander Trail in the infield. Really fun. We just had one last Sunday, and like I always say, it's where grown women go to giggle. And then in March, we have, on the 16th of March, we have a Mountain Trail Play Day again, 16th. And then we go to Argentina. So it's going to be super fun.
Woohoo! Lots going on. And if you want to learn more about all of that or look up the calendar, you can go to MontyRoberts.com, your one-stop shop for everything Monty Roberts, including the Equus Online University. Mm-hmm. You can also call Flag Is Up Farms and talk to a real-life human being at 805-688-6288. And for details about today's show, you can also go to horsemanshipradio.com, where you're going to find links, photos, and more information about today's guests and topics. We love to hear from you via social media. Monty Roberts is on Facebook. It's Monty Roberts, the one with the little blue check mark. And X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, it's Monty_Roberts. Mm-hmm. And it's also the same on Instagram, Monty_Roberts.
That's right. You get a mouthful there, but you got the X in this week. That's
in.
Good. Many thanks to our sponsors, too. That's Jay Michelson and his team over at Hands On Gloves. Look forward to 2025, where we've got some promotions coming. We're going to co-promote some events and different campaigns. It's going to be a lot of fun. So keep your ears peeled for some promo codes and some discounts.
And speaking of saying thanks to our advertisers, if you have a product or service, a business in other words, that aligns with the culture of horsemanship radio, we do have advertising spots available on the podcast. Just reach out to Debbie, easiest way is via the website, and get a conversation started.
Be sure to visit all the other great shows, too, on the Horse Radio Network at www.horseradionetwork.com. Until next time, have many happy horse hours.